It is the 1st of March 2023, so time for another monthly update video. I'm going to talk about what we've got coming up this month of March and what you might have missed during February. And as always, if you click see more in the video description, there'll be links to all the things that I'm talking about. So the things that you might have missed and want to go back to, you can certainly check out at your leisure. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things on the horizon for the month ahead. And so here they are. Big thing number one, I haven't done any interviews for quite a while. I had that Ideas That Matter series. I'm restarting that, and some of them will be sit-down interviews with people in the local area, but many of them will be carried out over Zoom, and then we'll piece them together. A lot of cool interviews coming up with a lot of cool people, so stay tuned for those. Big thing number two, I also last month restarted a series that I'd stopped doing back in 2019, self-directed study in philosophy. I did a video on Descartes. We're going to be doing one on Hegel this month, how to, productively study the guy on your own. So that's the second thing. Big thing number three is also Hegel related. We have finally crossed over into the very final section of Hegel's phenomenology, which is big news for the half-hour Hegel project. We're now doing videos on absolute knowing. I released the first of them to my Patreon supporters this last month of February. You'll see it coming out soon in March, and I'm going to be recording a lot of other new videos on that section and bringing the half-hour Hegel project to a long overdue and successful close. So that's what we've got coming up. Let's talk now about February. What went on in the month of February? We had a few local events. I did the next of the philosophers in the midst of history. I think we're either in year 6 or 7 of the series, and I focused on Socrates. That's something that we have at the Frank Weinberg Library. I also gave an invited talk at the Women's Club of Wisconsin in the Philosophy Eats series. This one was because it was February and Valentine's Day. I talked about 4 very interesting philosopher couples, one from ancient, one medieval, one early modern, and one late modern. And then we did a lot of online stuff as well. So Worlds of Speculative Fiction, we covered the first 4 books of Sapkowski's Witcher series, a really fun set of novels to which I will be returning again next year. We also kicked off the Understanding Anger online class. There's a video that you can watch of the class session. You can also sign up for the class if you want to, and that allows you to participate in the sessions that we do each month. I did a self-directed study video, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, on studying René Descartes' philosophy, which I think was long overdue. It had been about 3 years since we did anything in the series. So that's underway once again. We had 2 recording sessions and airings of the Wisdom for Life radio show, episodes 63 and 64. Last one was about red flags. We also talked about ethical implications of gambling and institutions around it, so some pretty cool stuff. And then I did an update video about becoming a philosophy professor and my advice about that admirable but difficult prospect. So those were a lot of the events that went on. I've also been, teaching my 3 academic classes, one at Marquette University on anger and justice, another one online for Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design called Philosophy, Mindfulness, and Life that is focused on philosophies as ways of life. So we're still in the hedonist traditions at this point. After break, we jump into cynicism and stoicism. And then I'm teaching an Intro to Humanities class as well at Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design. We finished up with Sophocles' Antigone, and we are now studying Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is a lot of fun. And I've been doing a lot of work with clients as well. There's always a few new people coming to me and wanting to start, services in tutoring or philosophical counseling or consulting or other various things. And I've been doing a bit of writing as well, working on a book project. I will also say that it's kind of cool. Yesterday Facebook reminded me an anniversary of my first book actually coming out 12 years ago. Right, so that's pretty cool as well. Video work. I did shoot a lot of video, some shorts that you may have seen, mostly having to do with animals. And then we finished up J.R.R. Tolkien's On Fairy Stories sequence in the worlds of, not the worlds of speculative fiction, in Speculative Fiction Studies, this great essay by him. And then I shot quite a few core concept videos for my students, some on Diogenes Laertes and his discussions of Aristippus and the Cyrenaic school, a lot on Lactantius's short work on anger. I think I shot 10 or 11 videos on that. And I did a lot of podcast work as well, finished up the sequence that I'd started the month before on Hume's inquiry concerning human understanding. We now have the entire work covered in both video and podcast form. Seneca's On Anger, Book 1. I did podcast episodes on that, and the stuff on Diogenes Laertes, Book 2 on Aristippus and the Cyrenaic school. We just finished up with the podcast episodes on that as well. So busy month in February, a little bit short, it always is. You can never get as much done as you want to. What is coming up in the month of March? So on the first Saturday, the 4th at noon, we have our usual AMA Ask Me Anything session. And it's, live chat. You can show up and ask me about whatever you want to within reason and, being civil, of course. And you do want to get your questions in early on because there is a tendency for them to pile up as time goes on. A little bit later, I will be having at 2 o'clock Central Time my monthly philosophy chat for Patreon supporters. That's a little bit more intimate setting. They can ask me about anything as well, but we've got our cameras on. We're meeting by Zoom. On the 11th, we'll have the next self-directed study video, and that is going to be about Hegel. I did a poll and asked people, Hegel, Hume, Hobbes, Augustine. Hegel won. So we're going to be doing Hegel and how to, productively study him. I'll have a lot to say, I think, right? So you definitely want to tune in for that. And when I say tune in for it, I'll be premiering the video and doing live chat with the audience members while the video airs. Then on the 15th, we've got another Hegel-related thing at 5 p.m. Central Time, our monthly Hegel Q&A and discussion session, which is underwritten by the supporters of the Half-Hour Hegel Project. On the 18th, we will have our monthly Understanding Anger 2.0 class. We're going to be looking at anger in Platonic dialogues. Now, we're not going to be getting to the big ones like the Republic and, other things that talk about the tripartite soul like the Timaeus and the Phaedrus. Instead, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of other ones like the Gorgias and the Euthyphro and discussions in the Protagoras and what makes people angry. Why do they get angry with each other? Sort of an introductory examination of the emotion in these Platonic dialogues. So if you can join me for that, you have to sign up for the class, of course, in order to get the link, but it's certainly something possible for you to do. And the link is down below as well. On the 25th, last Saturday of the month, we will be having the next Worlds of Speculative Fiction series. First, we start with a video premiere at noon Central Time, and then at around 1:30 or so, we switch over to a Zoom session so we can chat about the things in a little bit more detail with each other. And this time, we are starting Stanley Robinson's Red, Green, Blue Mars trilogy. We're actually going to be doing two different sessions on it. The first one, we're going to look at Red Mars and Green Mars. The second one, we'll look at Blue Mars and then all those short stories that he has in his collection, The Martians. So if you're into, let's call it ecological science fiction, well, then you don't want to miss that, because these are some great books. I'm been really enjoying reading them. And then finally, we have another Philosophy Eats at the Women's Club of Wisconsin here in Milwaukee. It's a kind of exclusive, restricted type of thing. You can't just walk in off the street and join in, but it's kind of cool. It's a dinner, and we're going to be talking about Mary Wollstonecraft, somebody who I'm a huge fan of, and we're doing that because it's Women's History Month. We'll be discussing this important and often overlooked author. I'm one of the good things about classes this month is we do have spring break. Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, their spring break starts next week, and then Marquette is the week after that. So, that's some time for me to get caught up on stuff and course building and grading and all the other things that I've got going on. I'm hoping to get a lot more writing done this month in Medium and on my book projects. And, there's other things I've got to do. So let's talk about video work. Obviously, there'll be videos from the events, as there always are, and from the Wisdom for Life recording sessions. But I'm going to be doing a lot more half-hour Hegel. I mentioned that we have made it into the Absolute Knowing section. I want to start making some progress through that and bring this project to a final close. I promised to get to book reviews last month, didn't get to them. That's a big project for this month, getting caught up on some of these reviews that I need to do. I want to start doing the interview videos again, and we're going to be looking at whose schedules are compatible with my own for that. And then I'm going to be doing some more Sadler stories. I didn't do any this last month, although I had done quite a few in the month before, and I think it's time for that. And then we'll do some follow-ups. I did that advice about becoming a philosophy professor, and I thought, well, there's other things too, like how do you do philosophy outside of the academy, or should you major in philosophy? It's time for an update for that one. Or what about going to graduate school? What would be the point of doing that? So I'll be doing those kinds of videos. And then core concept videos. I've already started shooting new core concept videos on Seneca's On Anger. And you might say, wait a second, didn't you do that before? On book 1, now I'm doing book 2 and book 3. I'm also, if I get to it, I'm going to be shooting some speculative fiction studies videos. And what will that be on? Well, a long time ago, I did a poll about which Philip K. Dick novel I should cover next. Because, I did Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. And the winner in that poll was Man in the High Castle. So I'm going to be talking about that particular novel, going through it, all the characters, all the concepts, all the themes, all the important stuff. We're going to be hitting that chalkboard and talking about what's happening in that. And then I do want to start doing more shorts videos. They're kind of fun to experiment around with. I've got some more cat and dog footage and things like that, but I'm also going to start doing some philosophy proper shorts, talking about something briefly for less than, 59 seconds, seeing what I can pack in there, and we'll do that. Podcast. So the Sadler's Lectures podcast. I've already started releasing these to my Patreon supporters. We're going to be having Aquinas's discussions of anger coming up in podcast form. And then I'm going back to Aristotle and working my way through the videos that I did on book 7 of the Nicomachean Ethics, which has to do with, things like weakness of will and, brutality and self-control and those sorts of things. And then if we have the time, I will also be doing some podcast episodes on Pascal's Pensées. Again, taking the videos that I did a while back and turning them into podcast episodes, improving the sound, taking out all the ums, ahs, and things like that, and repeated words, which it turns out I do a lot. So that is what we've got coming up in March. I hope that you have a great month ahead and that you can meet up with me either in person or in some of these virtual events that we have scheduled. You can take a look at the Reason I Owe event calendar and or look in Facebook and see when these events are coming up and get in on that action. So I will see you there, and I hope you have a great month ahead.